We now return to Minute by Minute here on A&E. July 17th, 1981, Kansas City, 11:05 p.m. 4 hours have passed since two skywalks crushed hundreds of partygoers at the Kansas City Hyatt. 11-year-old Dalton Grant and his mother, Connie, are buried alive near the center of the fallen skywalk, along with several others. As jackhammers pound away at the concrete overhead, the 11-year-old tries desperately to get someone's attention.
I mean, I was screaming. I was belting some good ones out. This firefighter heard me screaming. He went down into the rubble as close as he could to talk to me, and he would tell me everything they were doing.
I saw a firefighter laying on his stomach in the water, glass, and he was talking. And I said, "What are you doing, Joe?" He said, "There's a kid under here."
Outside the Hyatt, rescue personnel tell reporters how they intend to extricate the survivors from the twisted steel and concrete.
Chief, behind us are a number of cranes and bulldozers and forklifts. What are they attempting to do right now? We're trying to remove those catwalks to get to the injured and dead people that are under those walks.
Inside the lobby, buried under the center of the downed skywalks, real estate appraiser Tom Weir, his wife Jean, and a few others have confirmed their positions with rescuers by counting off through a hole in the debris. But their numbers have dwindled since they began an hour ago.
I think we did it 3 times, and I think it was 11 or 12 the first time, and then maybe 7 the second time.
Outside, Fire Department Deputy Chief Arnett Williams knows the survivors are running out of time. He orders construction cranes to smash through the 4-story wall of glass.
The initial smash of those things hitting the front of the building, and then the glass, I remember, it just sounded like rain.
With the cranes positioned directly above the skywalks, rescuers begin to attach cables to the concrete. Structural engineer Jack Gillum and several officials from Crown Redevelopment, the company that oversaw construction of the Hyatt, arrive and survey the wreckage. Gillum quickly identifies a deadly flaw in the construction. The points where the suspension rods connect to the skywalks are missing steel support plates called stiffeners.
I said, "Where are the stiffeners?" Stiffeners would have carried the load and would have prevented the collapse. And I was engineer of record of the Hyatt at that point in time, too. It's sort of your worst nightmare, and it has come to life.
At St. Mary's Hospital, radio newsman Chuck Hayes has just come out of surgery for 6 compression fractures in his back and his crushed legs.
First thing I remember, I woke up and I saw my mother. I knew I hadn't died at that point, so I breathed a sigh of relief. My next question was, where was Jane? Was Jane okay?
His wife Jane is in critical condition. When she was hit by the falling concrete, her torso was compressed, forcing her ribs down onto her hips, what doctors call a total body collapse. Surgeons fight to save her life on the operating table. 5.5 hours after the collapse. The death toll is over 60, but rescuers maintain hope that they can save the few remaining survivors.
Harold, was I correct when I said that you had been in contact with 4 or 5 people?
All right, our last count is that we are now in contact with 7 people. One youngster that is 11 years old, he seems to be in pretty good shape. We've had a firefighter talking to him for the past hour.
Near what used to be the main bar, firefighters work feverishly, digging down inch by inch to get closer to Dalton Grant and his mother, Connie. But while rescuers focus their attention on the center of the lobby, they don't know that at the far north end, Mark Williams is struggling to hold on. The little girl he had been praying with died over an hour ago.
She was very coherent and very sweet, intelligent little girl. I wish I'd had a chance to meet her.
Both of his legs are severely dislocated, his feet pinned behind his ears.
I remember reaching up here on my left ankle and rubbing it, trying to get the circulation going back in. I'm thinking to myself, they're probably going to amputate that leg. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to go duck hunting with one leg. So it's kind of embarrassing. I'm not thinking about my family, I'm thinking about myself to go duck hunting.
The cranes begin hoisting the huge sections of the fourth floor skywalk an inch at a time.
Some of the people down there thought we weren't moving fast enough. I think one of the concerns was hurry, hurry, hurry. But it wasn't something you could hurry with. If you go into helter-skelter, then you're going to have a worse problem than you've got already.
7 hours after the collapse, rescuers move a section of the concrete that is covering 11-year-old Dalton Grant. And for the first time, he believes he has a chance to survive.
The light broke through from the hole, and that fresh air, that was just, I mean, talk about breath of life.
When they did get him out, I mean, a huge roar of applause and cheers went up. All the firefighters and the emergency workers that were there and the construction workers, they just felt so relieved.
Dalton's mother, Connie, is also pulled from the rubble with 2 broken ankles. The 2 are rushed to a waiting ambulance. Just a few yards away, paramedic Mark Graven and Dr. Joe Wackerly squeeze through a hole to reach Tom and Jean Weir. It is no easy task.
Below the concrete is a metal roof. It was a long rescue, and we cleaned the hole out and found out that there was 3 in this pocket.
Suddenly, you could see light. And boy, I never appreciated light more than I did at that time.
They were really intertwined, if you will, with some victims that hadn't survived, and we had to take some drastic measures to get them out.
Wackerly must remove the limbs of the dead to allow Graven to first pull Tom, then Jean Weir to safety. His left leg shattered, the rescue was a painful one for Tom.
I remember someone pulling me by my leg and then pulling me by both legs, and I thought, boy, I wish you wouldn't pull me by that leg.
The Weirs are rushed to separate hospitals. 8.5 hours after the collapse, rescue workers have shifted their focus to recovering the deceased. But there is one more survivor. At the north end of the skywalks, Mark Williams lies barely conscious under tons of concrete. As the rescuers check the north end one last time, Williams hears shouting above him.
I heard the voice, and I yelled back, "Hey, I'm underneath here." And they heard me, and then I remember that voice saying, "My God, there's somebody alive."
Joe Wackerly is told the good news, but the doctor, who has saved dozens of people over the past 7 hours, is too exhausted to make the last rescue.
I was done, and there was one more to go, and I had a trauma surgeon who had been on standby, and I said, "Would you please do the last one? I can't do anymore." The irony of this is I didn't know who it was, and Mark and I were friends in high school and ran track together.
An hour later, a volunteer's jackhammer finally cuts its way through the rubble to Mark. But the rescue itself nearly kills him.
The first time they ran the jackhammer in, it came under my arm and between my ribs. And the next time they ran the jackhammer through, it came between my legs. And so now I'm thinking to myself, the next one's going to come right through my back. And I'm yelling and screaming now and saying, "Don't run that jackhammer in here again."
Williams is the final victim pulled alive from the debris. As the last section of skywalk is lifted, firefighters make a grisly discovery: 31 more victims. This pushes the death toll to 111, with over 200 injured, many of them severely. The ordeal now over, rescuers return to their homes in a state of shock.
I mean, there was so much in my head, and I was tired, but I wasn't tired, and I didn't want to talk about it, and I wanted to be left alone.
I remember being so exhausted when I came home that morning to my wife, and so tired that you want to cry.
As the sun rises, an entire city mourns. The questions inevitably begin. Who is responsible for this unthinkable catastrophe? That's next on Minute by Minute here on A&E. Who do you think should ultimately be held responsible for a building failure? Tell us at ane.com.